morning, everybody. It is Thursday, June 5th, and welcome to your Arkansas Daily Briefing. We're going to start with some economics in Arkansas. The Federal Reserve dropped its latest Beige Book yesterday, and it shows that Arkansas is holding steady while most of the country is starting to slip. The Beige Book comes out 8 times a year, and it gives a boots-on-the-ground look at the economy. The latest report shows that 3 regions, including Arkansas, saw no change in economic activity, while 3 others grew slightly and the remaining 6 districts reported moderate declines. Here in Arkansas, businesses are still clearly nervous, especially about tariffs and ongoing policy uncertainty, and that's really the biggest theme, uncertainty. People are unsure what's coming next, and that's keeping both households and businesses cautious. Prices are rising moderately so far, but businesses say more cost hikes are on the way. On the consumer side, it's mixed. Spending on recreation and hospitality is up slightly, but retail is down, especially on discretionary items. Manufacturing appears to be slowing. New orders are down, and that's leading to higher inventory stockpiles. And construction is also a mixed bag. Some commercial real estate projects are rushing to wrap up before costs rise, and new starts are slowing down, especially anything tied to government funding. Residential real estate is still slow. There are more listings and fewer sales, but of course, Northwest Arkansas continues to outperform with strong development keeping up with population growth. Agriculture is steady but soggy. Wet fields delayed planting across the state, pushing some growers to switch from corn to soybeans. And at the same time, feed and fertilizer costs, especially those tied to international markets, are creating headaches for producers. On trade and logistics, Arkansas businesses are increasingly talking about something called Friendshoring. That means shifting supply chains closer to home or to more stable allies, and that is in response to the unpredictability of global tariffs and the strain of navigating different trade policies country by country. In finance, Arkansas banks reported an uptick in auto loans and commercial real estate borrowing, but consumer credit isn't growing by much. Jobs and hiring stayed mostly flat. There were no mass layoffs, just more hiring freezes, reduced hours, and kind of a wait-and-see approach. So that's the view from the ground. Arkansas is stable but cautious, and as the Beige Book shows, that theme is playing out in district after district across the country. Switching over to your Grant Hardin update, authorities are now saying they believe that the escaped inmate has left Arkansas. A second tip came in placing Hardin near a faded red car in the Moody and Bakersfield area of Howell County, Missouri. That's about 35 miles north of the prison. That sighting was on May 26th. Deputies responded to the area quickly, but they didn't find anyone. So based on the timeline and location and their extensive searching around the prison, officials now believe Hardin has crossed state lines. Hardin has deep knowledge of the Ozark Mountain region, and law enforcement has thought he might be hiding in a cave or in rugged areas that he's familiar with. The manhunt is ongoing, and of course, we will bring you any updates. 2 new Medicaid rules aimed at improving maternal health in Arkansas cleared the Legislative Public Health Committee on Wednesday, and both of those came out of the Healthy Moms, Healthy Babies Act that was passed earlier this year. A few stats on why this matters. If you look at the number of places in Arkansas where you can actually give birth to a baby, in 2019, Arkansas had 40 hospitals that did births, and that number is now down to just 33. About 41% of all births in the state are covered by Medicaid, and the state had the 4th highest maternal mortality rate in the nation between 2018 and 2020, and the 3rd highest infant mortality rate as of 2022. So the first rule that was heard in the committee meeting introduces presumptive eligibility for pregnant women who are applying for Medicaid. That means that women can begin receiving care based on an initial screening without having to wait for their full application to process. That matters because right now, Arkansas has one of the slowest processing times in the country. A 2022 federal report showed that many applications took 45 days or longer. So if you put that in pregnancy terms, that is more than a full trimester before a woman could get care. Under the new rule, the eligibility would kick in automatically. Pregnant women would be eligible for that care as soon as they submit a Medicaid application. So the second rule as part of this would end the global payment system that reimbursed providers one lump sum for pregnancy-related care. Instead, Medicaid would start reimbursing separately for prenatal visits, postpartum care, and delivery service. The goal with that is to improve access and increase the number of visits that women actually receive. The rule also includes a 70% increase in Medicaid reimbursement rates for obstetrical care. That includes prenatal, postpartum, and labor and delivery services. State Medicaid officials said the jump was needed after comparing rates to other insurers. Combined, these changes are expected to cost the state Medicaid program nearly $40 million in the next fiscal year. About 2/3 of that will come from federal funding. There have been a few new campaign announcements for 2026 elections in Arkansas. In the Senate, District 13, Misha Martin of Sherwood is the latest to join the race for that seat that is currently held by Senator Jane English. Senator English is term limited. Misha Martin is a former top official at the Department of Human Services, and she now works as a senior director at Casey Family Programs. Martin spent more than 15 years at DHS, including as director for the Division of Children and Family Services, and later as deputy secretary for Youth and Families. In her announcement, she described herself as a conservative Republican, and she said she'll focus on tax cuts, government reform, school choice, and policies that support families. Now, Representative Brandon Aker has already announced for that seat. He's a Republican from Maumelle who entered the race last month. He is a pharmacist and co-owner of 13 independent pharmacies, and he's served in the State House since 2023 and has campaigned on fighting pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, lowering taxes, and standing up to foreign influence and big tech. Senator Jane English has already weighed in, and she has endorsed Representative Aker in the race. Senate District 13 includes Maumelle, Morgan, and much of North Little Rock, stretching up to the southern edge of the Little Rock Air Force Base and covering parts of northern Pulaski County. Meanwhile, in House District 46, Tanya Fletcher of Paris has announced her bid to replace Representative John Eubanks, who is also term limited. Fletcher is the executive director of the Paris Area Chamber of Commerce and a longtime Paris City Council member. She is the first person to announce for this seat. She says she'll focus on boosting the rural economy, supporting families and veterans, protecting the right to life and gun rights, and pushing for transparent government. That House district, District 46, includes parts of Logan, Franklin, Scott, and Sebastian counties. The filing period for Arkansas candidates will run from November 3rd through 11th, and the primary election is set for March 3rd, 2026, with the general election to be held November 3rd. So y'all know that I love the great outdoors, so I couldn't love this story anymore. So yesterday, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders held a press conference to announce a new outdoor education pilot program in partnership with the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission and the Department of Education. The goal of this program is to get students learning, but learning outside. So 30 schools will be picked to start the program, and if it works, it could roll out statewide. Sanders says she's confident that it'll be a hit and wants Arkansas to lead the country on this front. And the pitch isn't just teaching kids how to hunt and fish. It's a response to rising concerns about screen time, anxiety, and depression in kids. Sanders dropped a stat from Outside Magazine, which was pretty startling. The average prisoner now spends more time outdoors than the average child. Think about that. Prisoners get more outdoor time than children. Secretary of Education Jacob Oliva says the idea is to teach regular subjects like math, science, and reading in a more hands-on way. Think habitats instead of textbooks, stream samples instead of worksheets. He called it the kind of learning the kids will actually partake in and remember. The Arkansas Game and Fish team has already vetted the curriculum with biologists and education experts, and they're not just sending schools into the woods with a compass, they're training teachers and offering support all year long. Plus, the program taps into 9 state nature centers that are already free to the public. So that'll do it for today's Arkansas Daily Briefing. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.